Welcome to another Wisdom for Life. I'm here with Rosalind, Danielle, Clara and Carl, and we're here ahead of Dyslexia Awareness Week, and we're just talking all things around that topic. So Clara, if I could come to you first, just in case people aren't aware of it, what is Dyslexia Awareness Week all about?
So Dyslexia Awareness Week is something that I also wasn't aware of. Having a conversation with Danielle about this week. This year, Dyslexia Awareness Week is all about empowerment, and that's empowerment of people who have dyslexia, empowerment for them to be able to freely talk about it, for them to help people to understand how dyslexia is not a negative, and it's actually just a different way of thinking. So this is something that I've learnt about and now feel like a huge supporter, advocate of this. It's the dyslexic way of thinking, and it's about not that you've got dyslexia or you haven't got dyslexia. It's just about everybody thinking differently, and one of the ways of thinking is the dyslexic way of thinking.
Great, thank you. Carl, could I come to you first?
Yeah, sure.
Why is the empowerment thing such a big deal from a dyslexic point of view?
I think from my point of view, being slightly older than a lot of people in this room, it's about the recognition, because when I was at school, it wasn't recognised as a problem. You were just the slow lad, the one who had the special chair at the front of the class, the one who didn't write in joined up writing or always wrote in a pencil because you needed to rub it out, and just you were classed as slow. Now everybody knows that dyslexia isn't directly related to intelligence, and again, when I was at school, everybody did the 11 plus, and I passed 11 plus, and I went to the best grammar school in Plymouth. But the 11 plus was verbal reasoning, spatial awareness. It wasn't writing, reading and arithmetic. It was a different type of exam, and I found that I was very, very good at puzzles and seeing things differently and noticing which didn't fit in with a certain order. But asked me to write any of those words, and I couldn't spell any of them.
Yeah. Rosalind, did you have a similar experience? I mean, just picking up on that theme of it's just different rather than anything else.
Yeah, well, in terms of my experience, so I'm only 23. I was only diagnosed with it when I was 17. So in terms of nowadays, that was quite late on. I think that was sort of based on my dyslexia, because there's all different sort of heightened sort of variations of dyslexia, so mine wasn't so obvious. But once I got that help, it was amazing. So I'm a creative. I do graphic design here at Hemsley Fraser, and I went to study art and design, which is what I always knew I could do. You can always think in that way. And when it came to studying art history and essays and stuff like that, that was just no for me. So I remember reaching out to my tutor, and they're like, yeah, we've got the support here, and it turned out that I had dyslexia. So since I've been to Plymouth College of Art, one of the first things that they done was do a full screening of all the students there. So I feel like nowadays, unfortunately, like Carl's experience wasn't great then, but now it's so much better. And now I can see the positivity of having dyslexia. It's not a hindrance at all.
Danielle, what's similar experiences?
So similar to Carl, in one sense, I guess struggled a little bit with conventional learning at school, but totally loved my school experience, loved hanging out with my friends and things like that, and building relationships, and had great relationships with the teachers, excelled in subject areas like drama and art, and loved it, but conventional way of learning, exams, essays, bit of a barrier. It wasn't until later in life, actually. So I left school at 16, straight into the workplace, and quite quickly kind of focused on kind of my general skill set, which was much more around communication, building relationships, empathy. Really excelled in customer service roles and sales roles. So that was great. When I was about 24, 25, I decided I wanted to go back for me and do my A-levels, because I was like, I've so got this now. So I went back. I did an access to nursing, actually. I thought that might be a career path I wanted to go down. I went back, did all my exams, great, passed everything, but it wasn't until I was 25 it was picked up on, and it was a massive sense of emotion and relief of, oh my God, I'm not stupid. Thank
So true.
Thank
Yeah.
God. It's just I've got dyslexia. Okay, but it did have a massive impact on self-esteem and confidence, and it hasn't really been until the last 5-6 years since, you know, my personal development within Hemsley Fraser, if I'm completely honest, knowing my learning preference of building relationships, having a conversation, what do you think about this solution, what does that look like, let's draw it out.
Yeah.
I felt I've got this empowerment and confidence, and that's why I reached out to Clara actually to say, do you know what, you know, as a learning organisation there needed to be a discussion, right?
Definitely.
And so, Carl, can I come back to you? I mean, is it because when we were first talking about it, it seemed to me dyslexia awareness was probably aimed at people that didn't have dyslexia to understand it, but actually the empowerment thing makes it much more about people that have or might have dyslexia.
Absolutely, and I think picking up on what we're talking about, learning styles and that sort of stuff, there is definitely more awareness in schools.
Yeah, definitely.
Apparently there's a 50% chance of a dyslexic person having a dyslexic child.
Right.
So the chances, you know, there is a good chance that your child will be dyslexic, and one of my two daughters is dyslexic. And her experience at school, partly because I was aware of dyslexia and we were able to push the school, she had tests early. As Ros was saying, there are different types of dyslexia. There's phonic dyslexia, there's left-right dyslexia, there's all different types and different degrees of it. It's been picked up relatively early in my daughter's school career. And she gets coloured slides to put over things, and she's not dragged out of the room to be taught separately, but she is allowed more time, because for her one of the struggles is processing written information. So in an exam she'll read a question, and she'll read the question at the same speed as everybody else, and then everybody else in the room starts writing, and it takes her 10 minutes to start writing, and then she panics because she's not right and she's doing it wrong and all of that kind of stuff. But even just how she's taught, when I was at school, if we were doing history and we had something like I know, the suffragette movement, I would be told, write an essay on suffragette movement, 1,000 words on suffragette movement. Schools nowadays are saying suffragette movement, do a pamphlet or a poster on the suffragette movement, and they recognise that writing is not the key to learning. And for me, dyslexia awareness it's not about the people necessarily who have dyslexia, and it's not about the people who don't have dyslexia, but there is a whole swathe of the population, probably aged anything from 60 to 25, 30, who might never have been diagnosed as having dyslexia because it wasn't known. So just take pride in the fact that you do things differently. You know, we don't have to do everything in the same way.
Yeah, because Rosalind, following up from what Carl just said there, because one of the things when we were talking was the number of people that everyone would associate with as being creative and visionary and all that, who had dyslexia. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think definitely, like I always knew growing up that academic subjects like math or English was never my strong suit. Couldn't spell. Don't ask me to spell dyslexia, please. But yeah, so originally, creatively, that was how my mind worked. And as I've obviously progressed through education, picked up on dyslexia and how I work, I've sort of found out that even within my role now, like graphic design is all about problem solving. And as dyslexic thinkers, a lot of us are problem solvers. If you think about all the different famous people like Richard Branson, Albert Einstein and stuff like that, they're problem solvers and have, they've created success from that. So as a graphic designer, I know for me, if I can communicate my ideas visually, I know that people can understand it.
Yeah.
So I feel quite passionately, even within my role, creatively as well.
Yeah. But just hearing you guys talk, it strikes me, because obviously, like Carl was saying, school has changed. It's not about essays so much. And also the workplace has completely changed, because it's not about producing reports and writing and reading, all that. It's being creative. Danielle, is that fair? I know you mentioned like your communication skills.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the way that, certainly within our organisation, the way that we're communicating internally has changed. We're doing shout outs, we're doing videos, we're doing infographics. It is the blend, and I think it has actually helped me communicate that authentically to my clients, which is win-win. So actually it hasn't been a negative, because in my learning experience, the blend of technology has helped me learn to perform better. It's helped upskill me, so I can communicate that now to my clients, to think what we say more holistically about learning. What does that look like?
Yeah. And do you find your clients are increasingly aware of, well, whether it is dyslexia or whether it is creativity or different styles of learning and different styles of communicating?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we think of what's happening in our industry at the moment, the way that we're providing learning has changed significantly. So we're able to have that conversation. We're producing that content in multiple mediums to suit all different learning preferences. It's not about dyslexic thinking, not dyslexic thinking. It's just how you're consuming that is different. The way that I pick up information and knowledge, especially if it's compliant. If you're sending me something to be, a legacy document, I'm not going to read it. I'm going to struggle. However, if you send me a short, punchy, this is what you need to do to be compliant at your role, at your job, I'm interested. I'll read it. I'll watch it. It's there.
Yeah. And so, given you guys at different stages and ages have all gone through this sort of process or are going through this process, any words of wisdom or experience to people that might find themselves they are dyslexic or think they might be dyslexic or whatever it might be? What sort of things have you learnt?
Think of it as a strength rather than a weakness. I think a lot of people used to see it as a weakness. And now there's such a vast understanding, especially with this Dyslexia Awareness Week, of empowerment and how that is actually a great thing to have it. It's not a hindrance. Yes, I mightn't be able to read a page out loud, but I can look at something visually and automatically understand it. So yeah, it's definite strength.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely less stigma about it. Like I said, when I was at school, it was a learning disability. Yeah. It's not. It's an ability, if anything. It's a learning ability because you can look at the world in a different way. And I think my advice to anybody who looks in the world a different way is embrace that and shout about it. Don't hide that skill away. Keep questioning. Keep asking people questions and keep pushing people to do stuff differently, because you might try 8 different ways.
Yeah.
But as a dyslexic, what I will do is I'll try a 9th way or a 10th way or an 11th way. I'll just keep trying different ways. I won't give up because that way didn't work, because it doesn't fit in with the norm of how things should be done.
So in my learning discovery of this subject, I've been watching quite a few videos online from a charity called Made by Dyslexia, which again have just opened my eyes to it. And it's from my point of view, it's about celebrating all the different ways of thinking. I know I've already said that, but this is about empowering people with dyslexia to say, yes, I've got dyslexia and this is how I can help. But it actually empowers everybody to say, but I've got this skill and I've got this skill. And it's about recognising that, well, it's about getting into that collaboration thing, which is a huge thing we talk about. Collaboration and inclusivity is a huge topic. And this incorporates that. It's everybody thinks differently, and everybody can come together, collaborate, and create something amazing. One interview I watched with Richard Branson particularly, he said something that I realised is, isn't it funny that somebody can build this huge brand and not know what the difference between net and gross? Because he said, it was brilliant. He said, but I don't understand what it means, but it doesn't mean I'm not making money, because I've got somebody else in my team that does understand what that means. And that's how we build, the Virgin Empire, or his empire or whatever, is because he's got this way of thinking, and he works with people who've got other ways of thinking, and that's what creates amazing projects at the end.
Yeah, you need the process thinkers, you need the detail thinkers, you need people to get into the weeds and do all the nitty-gritty stuff, but you shouldn't not take notice of the people who think not higher or wrong, just differently, who can ask the question, but why are you doing that? Have you ever tried doing it this way? Great questions.
And it's about harnessing all of those skills,
Absolutely.
Isn't it? And that thinking, and actually just being part of that conversation to think differently. And when we think about some of the skills that are really in demand at the moment, it's creativity, it's innovation, it's visualization. What great strengths to really encourage and nurture. In my experience, I have been encouraged, and that has helped with self-confidence, and it has actually helped focus on the positives of actually having it, and actually thinking much more around, okay, I can contribute. Have you thought about this? Why don't we communicate in this kind of modality? And that's quite empowering, and actually, more to that, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a really positive note on which to end it, and it fits so neatly with the inclusivity, like you said, Clara, and collaboration theme that's running through things at the moment. So it's great, guys. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.